last type of scene shape is a transitional one. It doesn't really affect the pace too much. These types of scenes are used to glue two scenes together and close gaps in space and time between events or places. If you have a character that is in Paris saying they must go to Peru immediately, you do not just cut to the character suddenly sitting in a hut in Peru. You may show a map with a line going across the ocean, or create a quick series of traveling montage shots of boats, trains, planes, and donkeys. Shots that show time, events, and places changing, so we get a sense that this character is traveling a great distance. Below is a list of possible transition scenes that I'm going to go through, and they're also in your workbook. So keep an idea on where you can use each of these between each scene, because there's a spot on your worksheets, like how do you bridge these scenes, because there's all sorts of things you can do to make your film feel really tight by sort of weaving your scenes together in clever ways. So the most obvious one, the one we talked about, is a map, where you draw a line across to indicate movement from place to place. How could you use your digital tools to show us an animated map? You could use motion graphics in a fresh way to show gaps in time or events or places. In this example, there's a line going across a map with a little animated Bigfoot traveling between it to show travel. So this is a simple shot you can do. It's just several different layers of the running Bigfoot on a map and a line following it. The film Transit uses this technique with a line on top of a map with a shot of an animated train going down tracks to show how they were traveling. So it's, layers of the map and the train and the line, so you get that this is all happening by train. Think about using layers of elements to create original transitional map scenes and your motion graphics and all your great digital tools, because there's lots of new ways to do this. You don't have to do the old classic one. Subtitles with establishing shot. Use an establishing long shot of a new location or photograph with subtitles. So this is a cheap way to do it, and it's fast. You can also just show another picture of a location with subtitles underneath, such as a Photoshop image of some mountains or a mountain village in Peru with the subtitle Peru. This would serve as a visual transition into the new location. It would not work as well to show a character already inside a hut with the subtitle Peru. So instead of doing the montage and the animated line and everything, you could just show just some sort of scenic shot, Peru. It's like, okay, now they're in Peru, and then you cut to the hut, and it's a fast shot. Visual match cut. Place the same objects, scene, or shapes into two scenes, joining them visually. So this is a way to bridge from one scene to the next. So an example of a visual match cut scene transition shot could be a shot of actors on a stage doing some sort of play, like a little girl doing a ballerina thing, and behind her is a painting of a sunset over a lake. And then you cut to the next scene where there's like her mother standing in the same place she was with a sunset behind her and the lake, so it matches with the background painting of the stage play. It's kind of a wow shot, like, woo, that was nice, So it's the shape of the sun matched on the same spot in the screen, just a match cut. In the film Lone Star, there's an interesting visual match cut that goes back and forth between time, where we're watching Sam Shepard talk to this woman on a rock as adults, and then during their conversation it cuts back to both of them as children on these same rocks, and we get from the conversation that they used to play here together, and now they're back here as adults and they're having this conversation that bridges space and time in that way. So see if you can play with that too, using visual match cuts. It's a good way to show how things change. The typical one is like a necklace around a neck and then looking at it with a picture, and then you cut to that necklace later on, different time and place, but it's showing it's the same character. The suitcase in Transit also serves as visual match cut between time and place for events in the story, because we fly in and out of these stickers on the suitcase to go to various locations. And without this suitcase bridging these shots, we'd be lost on what was happening time-wise, because it actually tells us where we are in time, since the stickers are actually disappearing. Verbal. Use the same word, phrase, or slang between scenes. In Austin Powers 2, they have this great visual and verbal transition scene where they do a play on the shape of a flying spaceship, And they use all these different words in this monologue that goes, all these different characters saying things like Dick, Willie, two balls, privates, and they're all cutting to scenes of people using these words in mid-sentence and then cutting to the rocket being launched. So that's a visual and a verbal match cut. Character trait shows similar or contrasting traits from one scene to another. So in one scene you could have a character yelling in an office and then cut to another character yelling on a ball field. Or you could contrast the character traits. You could have one person being really quiet and then cut to one that's really loud, just to show how they're in different worlds. In the Godfather film at the end, the cuts between the group at the church with the baby christening and the shootout at the toll booth are very different character traits that are in play at that time. We have the tender, gentle, civilized church scene with the really violent gangster family one going on. So this is a good way to show these contrasting traits, this transitional way of going back and forth. You can also use a sound scene transition. This is a bell going off in a schoolroom, and then you cut to an alarm going off at a nuclear plant. This is a nice little one you can throw in there. Or try contrasting sounds between scenes by going from something soft to harsh. Maybe you have characters at a symphony that's got this really nice music, and then you cut to a very noisy factory to show the different environments. Lighting. Cut from a very dark room to another very dark room and then have a light come up. Or a glint from the sun to a lens flare coming off of a watch. So this lens flares are really easy to do. You could just add one in post and just put it in the same spot, but you would have to set it up where it looks like that could happen. Or you could do a spotlight at a circus, could cut to a desk lamp matching the same type of cone of illumination over a chair. So, there's lots of ways you can play with this. So take a moment to look at all your scenes and just see where you can create some interesting scene transition ideas. And once again, there's a space on your scene worksheets. So use some of the above techniques. Think of at least one original idea to bridge each of your major scene if you can. Write these ideas on your worksheets. And once again, the choices are to use a map, a visual match cut, a verbal match cut, a character trait, sound or lighting, or combinations of the above. So take a moment to do this now.